Oh, snap. Live on YouTube, live on Rumble, live on TikTok over here. We got the whole crew right here. Y'all, if you want to watch the video and actually see the video that we're going to be talking about right now, come on over to YouTube or Rumble. Just search The Mystery Project. The Mystery Project on YouTube or Rumble. We're live right now on both. And we're going to be talking about Ruby Franke because I just saw this video. Law&Crime just posted it talking about the family speaking out after the conviction, and there's like a huge evidence release and all this crazy stuff. So I figured, you know what? This is perfect to talk about right now because this lady is crazy as hell. It was sick what happened. It was tragic what happened. It's scary as hell that it could be happening, and it probably is happening now out there somewhere else, which is unbelievably sick. Not live on Rumble. It should be on Rumble. It takes a second. You guys know Rumble's crazy as hell sometimes. You got to like refresh and everything like that. But we are live on YouTube for sure, y'all. And leave some likes on Rumble. Leave some likes on YouTube. Hit those subscribe buttons. Hit those follow buttons. Hit all the buttons. And look, we got 300 people watching right now. Y'all hit the follow button if you're new here. Hit the follow button if you're new here. And thank you for the Tiny Dinies, Lincoln. Appreciate that. Y'all hit me with some Tiny Dinies over here on TikTok. We're trying to get 111 to get these things going. Plus, how many off the grids did we have last night? I think it was like 8. Oh, no, it was 5. Ooh, we had 8 the night before. Y'all, we can get more than 5. Click the link in the bio. thehauntedSide.com, y'all. Show some love over there. Okay. So let's jump into this one, y'all. Let's jump into this one. Ruby Franke, family speaking out after the conviction. Oh, man, here we go.
I think it's good for me to talk. I think it's good for everyone to kind of get the side of the story that they want.
Former mommy vlogger Ruby Franke is locked up behind bars, and the community is still reeling from the information released by Utah officials documenting Franke's abuse against her own children, as well as their rescue from her business partner's home. But now, more family members are answering some lingering questions publicly. We're sitting down with KUTV 2 News' anchor and reporter Brian Schnee to look at some of these responses. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Well, believe it or not, it has been 9 months since former YouTube sensation Ruby Franke and her self-help guru business partner Jodi Hildebrandt were first arrested for her.
Damn, has it really been 9 months? Holy hell. Ruby, yes, we're on YouTube as well. If you guys want to come over to YouTube or Rumble, rumble.com/The Mystery Project, or just search The Mystery Project over on YouTube as well. In fact, how many people we got watching on YouTube right now? 10. Shout out to y'all. Leave a like. I appreciate it. But I can't believe that. 9 months. Damn.
Horrific abuse against Ruby's 2 youngest children, and it has been 2 months since both women were sentenced to prison after they entered guilty pleas to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. They were sentenced in February to indeterminate amounts of time in prison, but we can expect them to be in there for at least several years, serving a maximum of 30. And since this is all blown up, we have been hearing responses. Now, remember, at the end of August 2023, Ruby's 12-year-old son escaped from the home of Jodi Hildebrandt, ran to a neighbor's house, begging him to call 911.
Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
Well, what's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's personal business.
Have a seat. What's your name? How'd you get here?
Now, the youngest child in the Franke family was still inside that massive home of Jodi Hildebrandt's, and first responders found her in a closet.
101 to do
Sit down.
Hey, y'all, if you're watching on TikTok, you can come over to YouTube and you can actually see these videos. If you haven't seen the body cam footage, it's like heartbreaking. The shape that they're in, like, just like, I mean, it's, I don't blame you if you stay on TikTok and you don't want to see it, but if you do, youtube.com/ or actually just search the Mystery Project on YouTube. But it's tragic, y'all. It's like, I can't with these people.
It's okay if I just sit here with you. We don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
Didn't it take it took quite a bit of time for her to even feel safe enough to come out of the closet?
Okay. I'll just sit here with you. I'll put the screen, okay? Whenever you're ready, you can eat. There we go. Whew. Thanks, yeah.
An officer spent hours trying to coax the little girl out of that closet. Both the children were emaciated. They had wounds over their bodies. The young boy was found with duct tape on his wrists and ankles. Underneath that duct tape, a home remedy of cayenne pepper and honey slathered on to reportedly treat these rope burns. And all of this comes years after the Franke family was first introduced to the world via their 8 Passengers YouTube channel in 2015. It chronicled the lives of Ruby, her husband Kevin, their 6 children at their home in Utah for several years. This was before Ruby eventually stopped posting and YouTube removed the channel. You might recall that there had been accusations against Ruby for the way that she treated her children, some even going as...
Yeah, not feeding them, being like, oh, yeah, she forgot her lunch. I know she's only 5 years old, but yeah, if she's not smart enough to bring her lunch or remember to get her lunch, then she doesn't deserve a lunch. Y'all remember that video? Talk about, I was like, what the fuck? I'm mad as hell for that one. Nurse Tracy, thanks for the heartbeats. Y'all on TikTok, thanks for being here. Hit me with some of those tiny dinies. Keep tapping the screen like crazy. Let's get 25,000 likes and 200-something people watching. Y'all, hit that follow button if you're new here. My name's Patrick. Every night, true crime every night, y'all. We're talking about all kinds of different cases, okay? Sometimes we're like,
that's suspicious. That's weird.
Sometimes it's sometimes, like in this case, where this lady's like, "Oh, there's nothing going on, nothing here." We hit them with the,
"Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop fucking lying."
We got all the things over here, y'all. So hit the follow button. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble, hit the follow button, subscribe button, hit the thumbs ups, all the things. Thank you for the tiny dinies, Michelle. Very sweet of you, y'all. Thank you so much. Okay, let's keep going. Man, this lady is crazy.
As far as to call social services, Ruby instead began appearing in videos with Jody Hildebrand, a mental health therapist who is the face of the company called Connections. It offered group therapy sessions, one-on-one meetings, as well as online courses, a podcast, a video series. Ruby and Jody, they became closer.
We learned about that one too.
Jody eventually moving in with the Frankes. During that time, Jody reportedly convinced Ruby to kick Kevin out of the home, saying he had to work on his own problems before he could rejoin the family. When Ruby and Jody were ultimately arrested at the end of August, according to Kevin, he had not seen Ruby nor any of his children in more than a year. All contact had been cut off, and Kevin says he knew nothing about the physical, emotional, and psychological abuse his kids were suffering. As for Ruby's 2 eldest children, Shari and Chad, they had moved away from the family home.
I still have questions about that, y'all. I know the dad hasn't been implicated in anything, but like, you didn't talk to your kids for over a year? That's its own form of y'all, sorry, we're live on TikTok too, but you know what I mean? Like, don't talk to your kids for a year, over a year? Man, if I go more than a day, I'd feel horrible. Horrible. If I go more than an hour, I don't know what to do. I'm like trying to check him out of school early. Hey, you want to go to the park? I miss you. You know what I mean? Over a year, man, you are sick. That's sick. And I like how In Savage on Rumble said, I switched over here so I could call her a monstrous bitch. I'm glad that you did, y'all. Rumble.com/The Mystery Project. YouTube, The Mystery Project. Come on over, hang out. We got 3 cases that I think we're going to try stream them all. That's what I'm saying, y'all. We might try stream every single one of these bad boys. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, and TikTok, hit me with the tiny downies. We're trying to hit 111. Come on, let's spread the live stream out for the TikTokers. For the TikTokers. All right, let's keep going. I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit.
Emotional and psychological abuse his kids were suffering. As for Ruby's 2 eldest children, Shari and Chad, they had moved away from the family home, while the 2 youngest were found at Jody's house in Ivins, Utah. The 2 middle daughters were found at the home of another Connections member, Pam Botcher, ostensibly to do chores around her home. Well, since then, the 4 youngest kids have been in the care of the Department of Children and Family Services, and it's our understanding Kevin has been actively trying to regain custody. Now, after the pleas and sentencing, Utah officials released a massive amount of evidence connected to the case. Not only was there body camera video showing Ruby and Jody's arrests, but there were interrogation room videos, jailhouse phone calls, even a journal that Ruby kept cataloging everything they did to the children. It was so much worse than I think many of us could have even imagined. But as I mentioned, we are talking responses. And so throughout this process, as this was all unfolding, information coming from inside the Franke family has been relatively sparse. For example, Shari Franke posted a photo of officers on the day of Ruby's arrest writing,
Yeah, and it said finally. Y'all remember that? Y'all, come over to YouTube and Rumble if you want to actually see it. See the video that we're watching. Because, yeah, I remember that. It literally just was like finally as they were putting her in the back of the car.
Finally, she posted that on Instagram. And then she also posted on Instagram, today has been a big day. Me and my family are so glad justice is being served. We've been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this and so glad they finally decided to step up. We also heard from Jody Hildebrandt's niece, Jessie, who says that they were forced to live with Jody when they were a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Similar circumstances.
Her story was crazy as hell, y'all. Remember that? She was talking about like all the things that like a teenage girl would go through and things, and like was like said like basically just completely brainwashed and was like, no, Jody was crazy as hell to that poor girl. Oh my God. That was one of the crazier stories too. I mean, it's all crazy. Everything around these people is just outrageous. Mama Jewett, thank you for the Rumble rant. You're the best. Oh, thank you so much. Y'all are the best. Thanks for the Rumble rants, y'all. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Can't do it without you. Let's keep going.
Tell me all the time, if you just confess, I will stop. If you confess, I will stop, which is torture.
And Jessie would tell us that they didn't believe Jody really has any kind of remorse for what she did. But having said all of that, we have heard from other family members, including Kevin, Ruby's 3 sisters, and their oldest son, Chad. I want to dive into this right now with a friendly face, a familiar face here at Sidebar. KUTV 2 News' anchor, reporter, Brian Schnee. He's been covering this case from the very beginning, has been a frequent guest here on Sidebar, and has been so generous with his time. Brian, always good to see you. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. There's still more to talk about as it pertains to Ruby and Jody and where things go. And I'm sure this will not be the last time we talk about more developments throughout this case here, because it's not done. We still don't know how long exactly they will be spending in prison.
We don't know that. And there's always these developments, legal developments, and there's still so many questions rather than answers.
Pat, I think Rumble is delayed to TikTok. Probably so. TikTok, Rumble is like a few seconds behind normally.
As we have. But let's start off with Chad Franke. Okay, so there have been a few sightings of him during court hearings and things like that. But Chad had never really gone on the record with any of his thoughts about his mom's arrest and the claims against her.
Shout out, Maria. Thanks for being here.
But within the last few months, Chad has started to take to social media again, even making jokes about the situation. In one TikTok video, his then girlfriend is captioned as saying, "You'd love my mom." Then it cuts to Chad with the caption, "My mom's in prison." He's also posted videos of his older sister, Shari, showing the siblings spending quality time together. Brian, what's your thought on Chad Franke and these initial responses? And we'll get into it a little bit more.
He's pretty loose with his responses, right? Especially if you go on to some of these live streams where he is gaming at the same time and getting all of these questions in the chat. This is on like a Twitch stream where he's gaming, talking to his gaming partners, and also talking about his personal life. And something that's really interesting is not really holding back with a lot of his thoughts about this, talking about what was Jody like? What were his interactions with Jody? I still haven't spoken to Chad, and I certainly haven't spoken to Sherry. Those are her wishes, not to speak to someone of what I do. But at the same time, Chad has been very vocal just by answering questions from random folks online about this situation.
Let's show that. So Chad, he's gained this large following on Instagram, Snapchat.
That's what I did a video on, y'all, when he was talking about them being together.
Streaming service Twitch. He's, like you said, he plays video games with his friends, girlfriend, and he answers questions from people posting in the chat.
I still get a lot of questions about my younger siblings. I'm just not even going to talk about them at all. They're still minors.
Gracie, thanks for the tiny donies, y'all. We're almost there. About 30 left.
They're still kind of in DCFS custody, so I'm not even gonna mention that.
And Brian, he talks about how he was in denial, how he was in shock when Ruby was arrested, how he lives with his dad, Kevin. What did you make of those comments?
I'm not surprised that he had to go through the processing sort of scenario that anybody would that has to deal with family trauma such as this. And I'm sure it's far from over too, Jesse. I mean, think about this. He's a young kid still, a young adult, trying to go through the motions of life here as this whole custody thing with his siblings is still not over. Still, at the end of the day, so much has already been made public with this situation. I think the fact that he's finding ways to cope with it and finding ways to at least have an outlet, it may not be the way that I would do it or others would do it, but nonetheless, it falls in line with his lifestyle. And I think it's really interesting that he won't do this. He won't sit down and do this conversation. He prefers to be in the comfort of his room with the game controller in his hand, trying to achieve the goal of the game while just kind of rattling off these thoughts. And he's really not holding back from a lot of things. And we have learned a lot in just a short amount of time from him doing these video streams. A lot of people on, TikTok channels and other social media sites have really gravitated towards what Chad is saying and have been putting those things out there to add a little bit more clarity or color commentary to the situation, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, it seems like he's doing well, at least from the outside, and is doing okay. And that's all, at least in my circumstance of covering the.
Yeah, but the other thing too is that social media is fake as shit. So people might look like they're doing okay on social media and it be an absolute train wreck, right? And I pray that that's not Chad. I hope that he is actually doing well, but I'm just speaking in general, y'all. You see some couple on social media and you're like, everybody's like, oh my God, they look so perfect. And then next thing you know, they end up on my fucking live stream. Right? That was the wrong sound effect. I meant to do this one. It's crazy. Oh, I forget. I see that I'm live on Rumble and I think I have free will to say words, and TikTok's probably gonna get mad as hell at me as I drop that. Sorry, TikTok overlords. Y'all, if you want to come see the video, we're live on Rumble and YouTube right now as well. Just search The Mystery Project. Y'all, The Mystery Project. Come on, go subscribe. Go do all the things. Plus, TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here. 333 people watching on TikTok. Keep tapping the screen, too. Let's get 25,000 likes. And y'all hit me with the tiny dinies. Come in. Let's crush that goal, y'all. Let's go. All right, here we go. Let's keep going.
Egregious acts of what mom did to the other kids. That's all I can hope for. I can just hope for a sense of normalcy. I mean, Chad was so involved in a lot of these YouTube videos. There was a lot of early emphasis on what happened to him in some of these videos, using those as examples before we saw the text come out from the journals and we learned exactly what happened to E&R those days. Chad seems to be doing well given the circumstances.
The whole idea of him sleeping on the beanbag was a big point of controversy. He said before on the streams that he really didn't even expect to talk about his personal life in such a public way.
Gracie, thanks for the dinies.
Okay, so maybe he started it not even thinking he would talk about it, but he said, like you said, he's found it therapeutic. And And he once answered a very interesting question.
Have I visited Ruby in prison? I have not. I have not done that.
Are you going to?
If I did, it won't be for a long time. So.
Damn, I don't know if you could hear that, y'all. But he says, "Are you gonna visit your mom in prison?" And he goes, "No."
Such an interesting response. And during
Not
her
for a long time.
sentencing hearing in February, Ruby took accountability for her actions, or seemed to, saying that she was brainwashed by Jody into thinking that this was the right thing to do for her kids and that it was the only way to save them. She
Oh, Lord.
apologized. She agreed that she
Don't go all Chad Daybell excuse on us. It wasn't me. It was Lori Vallow. It was Jody Hill. Yeah, she probably had something to do with it, Ruby. But you're still their mom, and you have the say. And ultimately, let's be real here, it's your job to protect them from monsters like that, not fall for their stupid games and then get all intertwined with them. Pun intended. Allegedly. I don't know. I'm not these people. But you know what I'm saying? Mandy, so don't go to the haunted side. Go to the Mystery Project on YouTube. So the haunted side on YouTube is still the paranormal stuff. But the Mystery Project on YouTube is the true crime stuff. So come on over. And y'all, I put up high bears on TikTok. Hit me with some high bear action. And go off the grid, y'all. We got 5 last night. We can get 5 again. Let's do this. Let's do this.
deserve to spend time behind bars.
Janet,
so
thank
Chad
you.
was
Lindsay,
asked,
thank you.
what do you think about your mom's statement?
Katie, thank you.
I'm going to be honest. I thought it was very genuine. I thought it was a little weird. It sounded like she was receiving an Oscar or something. That she was like thanking everyone in the audience. It was a little strange and it was super long. But I've seen her growing up and I've seen her be genuine and emotional, and what sounds real and what's not genuine. And I think that she was being very genuine in the sentencing hearing. I'm going to be honest.
So Brian, really interesting series of responses when he's asked about his mom. What's your take?
Well, I was in the courtroom that day when just off to my right, we're seating, Kevin, Chad, Sherry, and Ruby's brother was also there, Bo. So when she was reading that statement, I could see their reactions. And Kevin was emotional, watery-eyed, as you might expect. But Chad and Sherry were just like off in the distance, almost staring towards the judge, John Walton, and really stoic faces. And I'm not surprised, perhaps, that maybe he feels that way of, hey, I'm not visiting mom for a while because of what happened. But also in the same sense of, he had to be there through this, and he had to see what happened to his siblings. At the end of the day, right. I think there's probably the hope of what could I have done, right? You would imagine that maybe that thought has crossed his mind. It sounds like their relationship wasn't, just all flowers and roses and all that from the get-go. It almost feels like he gravitated more towards his father even before this, just by hearing him talk more about that. So at the end of the day, it was a long statement. She did thank everybody. She thanked the first responders. She thanked the prosecution. She thanked Kevin for the 20 plus years of marriage and obviously apologized in that. And of course, we can always go back to it. Was it genuine? Was it heartfelt? It appeared to be so from being in the courtroom, given what we saw early on. And then once the evidence was released, going back and seeing just the genuine change in body language from the day of the arrest.
Right. Lindsay, Janet, thank you. QC Creations, thank you for the love. Let's hit those high bears, y'all. Hit the follow button. YouTube, hit the like button. Rumble, hit the like button. Subscribe, follow, do all the things. Let's keep going. And we got plenty of cases to talk about tonight, y'all.
To that months later, it did appear to be a change in character for Ruby Franke. So I do think Chad is onto something there.
It was a 180. It was a 180 from her giving the silent treatment to law enforcement to what she ended up saying. And look, Chad, he was also reportedly asked how long he thinks Ruby and Jody should spend in prison. He said, I think he said 18 years for Ruby, and he thinks Jody should never get out. Recent days, he's answered other questions on Twitch. What's your favorite food? Where do you want to travel? So maybe getting out of this different kind of questioning. I want to ask you about Ruby's sisters. So Ruby has these 3 sisters, Bonnie, Julie, and Ellie. And all 4 of these sisters had their own YouTube and or social media following. They often posted videos of their families, vacations they've taken, passion projects like building a dream home. You get the picture. So a family that has created a connection with the community through their posts. And when information started to come out about Ruby, there may have been an expectation that the sisters would put out some sort of statement. Well, Ruby and Jody, as I mentioned, they were arrested on August 30th. And Ellie and Julie, they released a statement on Instagram saying, for the last 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Franke for the sake of our children, of her children, excuse me. Behind the public scene, we have done everything we could to try and make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jody was.
Ooh, yes, it did. Can you imagine? That's your sisters, and they're like, yeah, that needed to happen. Damn.
Was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe, which is the number one priority. And less than 2 weeks later, I believe on September 13th, both Julie and Bonnie, they put out video statements on their YouTube channels. They explained that Ruby had grown distant from the family after joining Connections, and that she kept her children away from family functions.
3 years ago, Ruby, everything was great. It seemed to be fine anyway. We were a typical family. She was getting some therapy counseling because their family needed it, which I think is great. However, I think you need to get it from a great source. Read the reviews. Jody Hildebrandt and her website or therapy style, I don't know what you want to call it, Connections, was not a great resource. And we all saw it. We all felt weird about this Jody lady. We weren't comfortable with it. We didn't like it. We didn't like the teachings Ruby was bringing to the family functions, and we were this close to telling her, if you come to our family events anymore, we do not want to hear what you were learning through Connections because we don't like it. We never did say that to her, but we thought it.
We thought it? Oh my God. See, that's crazy too. It's like, man, if you love your family, especially these kids, if you had an idea that something like this was going on, why not tell somebody? Don't be like, we thought about it. No, be about it. Be about it. It's crazy as hell. Like if my brother brought home a Jody Hildebrandt and he's like, man, I won the lottery, got myself a Jody Hildebrandt, I'd be like, you what? Hell no. What the fuck? Nah, it's all good. Family's got to look out for family. It's crazy as hell. It's crazy as hell, y'all. By the way, TikTok, keep tapping the screen. Let's get 50,000 likes. We hit 25,000. Thanks for that. Hit the follow button if you're new. My name's Patrick. I'm live every single night. Every single night, y'all. Right now, we're live on TikTok, Rumble, and YouTube. So TikTok, as you're coming in, if you want to see the videos that we're watching, come on over. YouTube, just search The Mystery Project. On Rumble, search The Mystery Project. You'll find it. Miranda, thanks for the bears. Amanda, thanks for the heart me's. Y'all, hit with those bears. Let's crush that. 111. Basically, when we hit the goals on TikTok, TikTok will just spread the word about the live stream. So it helps get more people in. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's get it. Gracie, thank you. Nashville girl, thank you. All right, let's keep going. This one's almost over.
Behind the scenes, we did everything that we could. We did everything legally that we could do. And for those that were saying that they'd go in and bust down doors and do whatever it took to end up in jail, because from jail, I can't do anything.
Brian, again, fascinating responses from these sisters. What's your thoughts on those?
Well, most importantly for me is how have they responded since sentencing, right? And it's been very few and far between for at least two of them. One of them has been much more outspoken on this and more emotionally charged by this than the other, I guess the total of the three sisters, right? So Bonnie is the one that has gone on YouTube a number of times and put out videos. Most recently, just a few weeks ago, really talking about the emotion behind this. She was visibly upset by a lot of the comments coming in, attacks on her faith, a lot of those comments she said are religiously charged, which is, she said, I would never do that. It's not fair. Why would you do that to me? Of course, we're talking about, the dominant or heavily dominant religion here in Utah that a lot of people refer to as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the LDS culture. So when you look at those comments, she's visibly emotional about this. What I found interesting is, since then, these three sisters appear from the social media limelight, that they've kind of gone about their business, continuing the vlogs, have gone on vacations, right? One of them is on a vacation at the time of we're talking right now, or just wrapping it up. So,
OMG, Patrick G's present. No, use StreamYard. StreamYard. And y'all, if you do the live stream game, you should definitely get StreamYard, because it is the best of all of them. It's so good.
I don't know how much more.
I'll probably put a link in the descriptions on these things, on these videos, because it's good. It's good.
Or we will hear from them. I've continuously, over the course of a few months, tried to reach out and said, hey, would you like to talk about this? And at one point, Julie got back and said no. No responses from the others, Ellie or Bonnie. But Bonnie still puts out these videos every so often. And she just did a few weeks ago, again, about just kind of dealing with this still months later. In essence, saying I'm not okay still, right? Mm-hmm. And you would expect that. But then again, when you look way back towards the beginning of this, when we started hearing about these YouTube videos and potential abuse, even outlined in some of the early videos, there were comments about, well, what did Bonnie do on her page way back when? There were things about that. So at this point, I don't know how much we're still going to hear from them too, because at what point will they take this in stride and move on towards their traditional vlogging lifestyle? It seems like two of them have, but at the end of the day, it looks like Bonnie might be the one to hang on to this and continue addressing what people are talking about, because we still haven't gotten a lot of clear-cut answers from all the sisters. Something Bonnie said, though, in her most recent video stuck out to me. Jesse, the journals that we've seen that were released and outlines by date. This child was sleeping on the floor next to me. This child was outside. This one threw herself into a cactus.
Denny's LDS is the LDS church. It's the Mormon church. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's what it is.
The stuff you never want to read surrounding this case. Bonnie alludes to the redactions. If only you could see what is in those blacked out pieces in the journals, right? And we can't. So she even alludes to, you've only seen what's in the media. You've only seen what's been made public. You have no idea what else is in there or surrounds this. She still has a lot to say as far as it's concerned. I believe she does.
Let's actually play that if we can, that moment where you're just talking about.
You only know what's been approved to share with the media. All of those blocked out spots in the journal, all of the journals that she had that didn't necessarily pertain to the criminal case, all of those, a fraction. A fraction.
Yeah, so that's quite the statement.
Jeez.
And just to go back to give everybody a little context, so Ellie, she posted a video, I think, in November, talking about the state of her mental health as well as the relationships with her and her own family following this arrest. And it was so interesting. She posted a video about a ring that her grandmother had given her that she took to a jeweler to replicate.
And I said, I want you to replicate the ring. And so he replicated it just like my grandma's ring, but he left it so it's easy to size. And I had a ring made for me, Bonnie, Julie, and my mom. And when my mom gets back from her mission, she will be able to have it, and we will have matching rings.
Yeah, you notice she mentions her mom, her sisters, Julie and Bonnie, but not Ruby.
No Ruby.
And then you mentioned Bonnie, as you said, is the most frequent to post. In October, she talked about how her children didn't get to have meaningful relationships with their cousins, but maybe one day down the line they can.
It was a loss for my children, and so that took a lot of time to come to terms with. And years later, that sounds so wild to say, but years later, they still bring it up, and when are we going to get to see them? When do we get to know them again? And I had just let them know so that
they had
Thank you,
some
Tammy.
sort of expectation. I just said when they're
We're halfway there. Thank you.
18, when you're 18, you'll be able to reach out and you'll be able to see if you can form a relationship then.
And on her Instagram page, Bonnie posted this following the February sentencing: a world full of distractions, and I only have eyes for them. Satan himself could not come close to making me harm them. This is about her own children. And then a few days later, on March 1st, Bonnie posted a video with the caption, "This was the day my sister was sentenced. I thought I would feel more closure. I didn't. It only added to my frustration. I will take this as a massive blessing and a sign that God is in control. He knows me and was acknowledging me." Yeah, her pain is very, 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 very palpable. And yes, we might see a little bit more. But I want to end this discussion, Brian, with Kevin Franke. So Ruby's estranged husband filed for divorce not long after arrest, has filed a lawsuit against Jody Hildebrand for abusing his children. So we're hearing a bit more of his side of the story through his legal action. Kevin has never been charged with anything in connection with this case. He has said time and time again that he was away from his entire family for more than a year, no contact at all. But in the legal complaint that Kevin's lawyer, Randy Kester, filed, it states, quote, "Neither defendant nor Ruby Franke advised plaintiff," meaning him, "of the removal of the children from the family home in Springville, Utah, the defendant's home in Ivins, Utah." Goes on to state the children's personalities, emotions, and psyches were so damaged and altered that it was beyond father's capability to restore them without professional intervention of state's resources through the juvenile court. This through a rehabilitation and restorative process directed and prescribed by the professionals treating the children. In order to restore his children to his care in their family home, father himself has complied with the court process and has affirmatively sought his own regimen of professional therapy in order to coordinate not only with the children's treatment providers, but to gain an understanding of his children's conditions and needs and how to best facilitate the restoration of his children back to their former status as happy and healthy individuals and of a happy and intact family in their family home. And he accuses Jody and
I hope he takes everything that woman's got.
Actually, the claims are
and some. And then they bury her under the jail. Straight under the jail, y'all. Hit me with the high bears on TikTok. Hit the follow button too. 326 watching on TikTok. My name's Patrick. If you're watching on TikTok and you'd like to see the videos that we're watching, come hang out on YouTube and Rumble as well. Search The Mystery Project. The Mystery Project. We're live on Rumble. We're live on YouTube. We got 36 people watching on YouTube. Let's go. And we got 171 people watching over on Rumble. Shout out to everybody. Let's keep going because we got a couple more minutes on this one, and then we got another case to do.
Intentional and negligent infliction.
Oh, and y'all, my plan is to live stream on all three platforms all night long. So I want to try this out. I want to try the trifecta. Okay, we're going to live stream on everything all night long. But YouTube and Rumble, it's going to, that stream is going to end and then a new one's going to start. TikTok is just going to stay one straight stream.
Of emotional distress. Brian, what do we make of Kevin's responses to all of this? And have you heard anything new regarding Kevin Franke?
Well, last we heard was of course, the filing towards Jody, which we thought would happen based on the ability to get custody of the children, because they want to prove, hey, we can get this going. And there's a slowdown with the state's process to get those 4 children in terms of the guardianship for Kevin Franke. So when you look at this, it also is financial too, right? I mean, he needs some assistance. The bank is running dry. We've been going through therapy. All these kids need therapy. Where is this coming from? We have a $5.3 million home in Ivins. Where's that money going? Looking at the bigger picture, at the end of the day, Kevin probably feels, hey, I need some of this for my family, right? Because where is the income coming from other than Kevin working, which he is still doing? So this portion is to not only hopefully tell.
What does he do? Does anybody know what Kevin Franke does? Kevin Franke job. He is an administrative assistant in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at BYU. Okay. Never mind, y'all. I figured it out.
The court, hey, I'm serious about this. I want these children. And I think that this is why I should be entitled to not only the children, but some financial assets from this as well. I don't know how quickly this will help move things along. I think
Amy, thanks for the high bears. Y'all hit me with the high bears. We need to get 111.
that's part of the goal, though. And at this point, yes, where does this complaint go? Does it get addressed quickly? How does that happen with Jodi in prison? Obviously, her representation is in St. George with her attorney, Doug Terry. So where do we go from here where Kevin gets a little bit of that closure, whether it's emotionally or financially, which he says is to ultimately help the family and the children? So now we wait, I think, at this point.
Brian Schnee, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, Montreal wants to say hi. Hi, Montreal. Yo, you get to see more of the kitty, too, because on Rumble and YouTube, she's right there. I guess you can see her right there. Damn. Yeah, I know. She wanted to come up and say, she's crazy. She's like,
how dare you?
OMG. Is that? Yes, that is Montreal. Yo, okay, so I'm going to end the YouTube stream, in the Rumble stream, and then it's going to come right back up, y'all, before we start the next case. All right, so here we go. YouTube, Rumble, don't worry.